What if everything we know about the moon is wrong? For centuries, we've looked up at the night sky, admiring that glowing silver disk. But have you ever asked yourself, why is the moon so perfectly placed? Why does it never show us its far side? And most importantly, what might be hiding there? Some believe the moon is natural. Others say it was put there, not by nature, but by intelligence. What if the moon isn't just a satellite, but a massive observation station, quietly watching life on Earth? And here's the biggest question of all. Could there be life on the dark side of the moon? Not bacteria, not rocks, but something ancient, something watching, waiting. Throughout history, ancient cultures spoke of sky beings, lunar gods, and a time before the moon appeared. Coincidence? Or fragmented memory of something far more unsettling? This video will explore the theory that the moon is far more than just a rock. We'll dive into strange scientific data, ancient warnings, and what modern space missions may be hiding. But before we begin, ask yourself one more thing. What if the moon is watching us right now? From a scientific perspective, the moon has always been an enigma. Unlike most natural satellites, it doesn't quite fit the mold. It's too big for Earth's size. It orbits at just the right distance to create perfect solar eclipses. And most curiously, it rotates in such a way that we only ever see one side, forever hiding the far side from our view. This tidal locking is a rare and strange phenomenon. Even more puzzling is that the moon's orbit is almost a perfect circle, something rarely seen in nature. The chances of all these characteristics lining up by coincidence? Extremely low. Then there's the issue of its composition. Samples brought back from the Apollo missions revealed that the moon's surface contains metals like brass and uranium-236, materials rarely found in natural formations. Some rocks even appeared to be older than Earth itself. And let's not forget the infamous ringing like a bell event. When Apollo 12 deliberately crashed a lunar module onto the surface, seismometers recorded a shockwave that echoed for nearly an hour. NASA scientists were baffled. Could the moon be hollow, or worse, hiding something inside? In fact, some geologists now question whether the moon was formed naturally at all. The most accepted theory, the giant impact hypothesis, still fails to fully explain the moon's strange isotopic similarities with Earth. The deeper you dig, the stranger it gets. And when science can't explain something, sometimes myth and speculation fill the gap. When we compare the moon to other moons in our solar system, things start to look off. For starters, no other planet has a moon that's so disproportionately large compared to its host. The moon is about 1/4 the size of Earth, a ratio completely out of line with the rest of the solar system. Most moons are tiny in comparison to their planets. Ours? It's massive. Some scientists say it behaves more like a binary planet system than a typical planet-moon duo. Next, consider its orbit. While most moons have elliptical, unpredictable paths, the moon's orbit is nearly a perfect circle, and its distance allows for the rare but precise phenomenon of total solar eclipses, almost like someone designed it that way. Even more curious, the moon's rotation and orbit are perfectly synchronized, which is why we never see the far side. That synchronization feels less like natural mechanics and more like programming. Compare that to other celestial bodies. Mars' moons, Phobos and Deimos, are tiny, irregular, and clearly captured asteroids. Jupiter's moons, over 90 of them, are chaotic, some even retrograde. So why is ours so perfect, so controlled? Add to that the moon's bizarre material composition, seismic reactions, and myths from multiple cultures warning of a time before the moon. And suddenly, the pieces don't fit the puzzle anymore. Nature is chaotic, imperfect, random. But the moon? The moon feels intentional. For all our technological progress, humanity has only scratched the surface of the moon, literally. Between 1969 and 1972, NASA's Apollo missions sent 12 astronauts to the moon. But oddly enough, no one has returned since. Over 5 decades have passed, yet the moon remains untouched by human feet. Why? Some say it's funding, others cite political shifts. But a growing number of theorists believe something else, that we found more than we expected and decided not to go back. Several Apollo astronauts reported strange experiences, unexplained sounds, lost recordings, and even the feeling of being watched. Buzz Aldrin hinted at lights following the spacecraft. Seismic events recorded during Apollo landings echoed for unusually long periods, and some mission audio logs, classified or missing entirely. In recent years, new players like China and private companies have begun exploring the far side, the so-called dark side. China's Chang'e 4 mission successfully landed there in 2019. But images released are limited. Some researchers suspect much more was found than publicly shared. Then there's the rumor that certain areas on the moon are off-limits, quietly agreed upon by major space agencies. No fly zones, no landing zones. Why? If the moon is artificial or a surveillance base, then perhaps its builders never left, or worse, they don't want us snooping around. As we prepare for new missions like Artemis and beyond, the question remains, what are we really going back to, and why haven't we gone sooner? Imagine this. 12,000 years ago, Earth was chosen, not for conquest, but for observation. An ancient race, far beyond our understanding, seeded life, watched civilizations rise and fall, and quietly ensured that humanity never strayed too far from balance. To monitor this fragile experiment, they installed a perfect satellite, one that could regulate tides, influence biological rhythms, and most importantly, watch, but not openly. No, it had to appear natural, so they placed it at the exact distance for perfect solar eclipses, locked its rotation so no eyes could see what lay on the far side, and built it hollow to house systems, sensors, and perhaps even something alive. For millennia, it worked. We worshipped it, measured time by it. We called it sacred, until we began asking questions, until we reached it. That's when the warnings began. Lost data, strange signals, dreams. Some say that the moon's systems are awakening, that it's shifting in orbit, reactivating, preparing for something. What if the moon was never meant to be discovered? What if human curiosity triggered a response? And here's the final twist. What if it's not just watching us? What if it's sending signals back? Back to the ones who built it. Maybe the moon is just a rock. Maybe it's not. In our quest to understand the universe, we often assume that everything we see is natural, random, or simply a result of time and physics. But what if that assumption is wrong? Dangerously wrong. The moon challenges that assumption. Its size, orbit, placement, and behavior defy simple explanations. Its perfect positioning for eclipses, its hidden far side, its seismic echoes, the missing records, the ancient myths, and most of all, its silence. If the moon truly is artificial, placed here by a higher intelligence, then humanity is not alone. We've never been. We've been monitored, guided, maybe even manipulated. But for what purpose? Preservation? Control? A test? Or are we just an experiment, approaching its final phase? As new missions prepare to return to the moon, perhaps we're on the verge of rediscovery, not just of space, but of our own origins and of those who may have shaped them. The watchers may not speak, but maybe they don't need to. Maybe their message has always been written in the sky, hidden in plain sight. So now we ask, not what the moon is, but who it belongs to. And when they come back, will they be pleased with what they see?